Today on Writer's Edge podcast, we're going to talk about plantar fasciitis, what it is, what it ain't, and how you can help yourself. Let's have a conversation about plantar fasciitis today. Plantar fasciitis, also known as foot pain, is a very common ailment. Plantar fasciitis, at its core, those words mean inflammation of the plantar fascia. The plantar fascia connects on your heel bone, goes all the way under your foot, kind of connects, splays out, and connects on all your toes, and runs the whole gamut of the bottom of your foot. It's really super thick and kind of a gristly, thick, tough tissue. And it can become irritated just like any other tissue in the body. Commonly, it presents with pain in the heel, particularly points along the inside of your heels. It also kind of right where your arch starts at your heel. There can be kind of a tender spot right there. There are a lot of different causes for plantar fasciitis. There are a lot of different contributing factors to plantar fasciitis. This video is meant to give you information and some help. If you are having trouble or continue to have trouble, please seek out a physical therapist. Call us here at Writer's Edge and we can help you get on the right track to not having foot pain because, whoo, Lord, having foot pain can mess up all sorts of different things. So that's where it presents. It is typically more prevalent in women than it is men. It is also more prevalent in people who have either very high arches or very flat feet. Just because it's more prevalent in women than men does not mean that men don't get it, particularly people who work on their feet. Cowboys, construction workers, police officers, firefighters, that kind of population it can be very prevalent in. A lot of times, and this is true for anything from the low back to the foot. So we're going to kind of talk about what's called the lower kinetic chain today. The lower kinetic chain is essentially from your hips, your low back, your SI area, all the way down. And everything works together because that's how we ambulate. That's where all of our weight bearing happens. It's where all of our riding happens. And so it all works together. The problem with the lower kinetic chain is just because you have a pain in one aspect of it does not mean that's the cause. Does that make sense? The cause of that pain in your foot could be somewhere up the chain. It could be weak glute muscles or hip muscles. It can be weak quad muscles, or it can be tight calf muscles. You know, there's just a multitude of things, and that's why I stress that if you're still having trouble, get some help. Go see a physical therapist and let them help you get through this because you don't need to suffer with this. You may need inserts. That's always a helpful thing depending upon how the anatomy of your foot is. But it doesn't mean you have to spend thousands and thousands of dollars on special shoes or inserts. It's always better to get the guide of a professional to help you kind of navigate through that instead of just throwing money that way. So the lower kinetic chain can be very tricky. It's the same way with plantar fasciitis. A lot of times, plantar fasciitis is caused by tight calf muscles. The calf muscles insert there on the bottom of the heel, and their tightness can kind of pull and disrupt the neighbors and cause for some pain in the heel that presents as plantar fasciitis. I am going to put in the show notes 2 calf stretches on the wall to show you that are very easy to do, and you can do them anywhere. They oftentimes are a big contributing factor to what's going on down there in the heel. It's interesting because a lot of people don't realize that there are two major muscles that make up your calf, the gastrocnemius and the soleus. There are two different ways to stretch both of those muscles because they run opposite of each other. And stretching both of them is typically helpful in these kind of situations because one may be tighter than the other. And so if we hit them both, we usually get a pretty good result. So look for those calf stretches there in the show notes, and hopefully that will help. Even if you just have tight calves, they're a great easy way to stretch and cause everything to kind of elongate and go back less angry and do its job. So tight calf muscles are often a huge factor in plantar fasciitis. Other factors in plantar fasciitis can be weak glute muscles. The glutes are the major driver for ambulation. And if you're an American, even if you're not an American, but I always say if you're an American, a lot of times we have slow glutes to the point that a lot of times I'll call it the dumb butt syndrome, meaning our glutes don't fire the way that they should. They don't operate the way that they should. Because a lot of times we are desk jockeys during our day job and do a lot of sitting at work, sitting watching TV. This also bleeds over into what we work on here at Rider's Edge because we sit on the horse, right? And so it doesn't leave for optimal glute activation to doing its job. So we have to pay close attention to how the glutes are working in order to help us ride better, in order to help us walk better. The glutes can be a major cause in foot pain, back pain, you name it. Because they are our ambulation muscles. They should be pushing us through space versus us pulling ourselves through space. A lot of people are like, well, if my muscles aren't working, they aren't working. It's a mind-body thing to get them to activate and turn on. They still work, but like we've talked about in other videos, and we'll talk about it some more, humans and our bodies will find the easiest and least use of energy way to do something. So once we find that path, we write it down. Our bodies write that neuromuscular path down, and they will continue to use it over and over and over until we go, hey, whoa, wait a minute, slow up, let's make a pivot, and let's do it this way because it's a more effective use. It is using our muscles in the way that they were intended to. So it may be stretching your calves and activating your glutes through bridges and clams and glute sats and different exercises that way. And it may be true inflammation at the site of your fascia. There are a lot of different ways to address that seeing your local physical therapist can help with that. Here at Rider's Edge, we use a lot of different tools to help with that. We do what's called body tempering, and we do that on major muscles such as the calves or the glutes or the hamstrings. And that's where you take large pieces of steel, of metal, and work on the muscles, lay it across the muscles to allow them to relax. It is a very effective and efficient way, very calming for the patient, and you're probably sitting there thinking, oh hell, Farrells, really? You're going to put a heavy piece of steel on there and that's supposed to be calming? It really is. It just it puts pressure on the muscles and allows them to relax, and that's the easiest way I can explain it. And the human body also responds very well to constant pressure. Well, I can't humanly give you constant pressure all the time if I was doing deep tissue massage or whatever. So that allows for constant pressure, allows the body to acclimate to it a lot easier, and allows it to relax. Other ways that we treat plantar fasciitis, depending upon what's going on with the individual client, is through cupping, dry needling, and class 4 laser. The class 4 laser helps with blood circulation. It improves nitric oxide production, improves ATP production. All big fancy words to say we accelerate blood circulation and we accelerate cellular activity. And when you do that, it speeds everything else up for the body to come in and help heal itself. So, dry needling helps with it too. I try to always shoot everybody straight. Depending upon, in the instance of plantar fasciitis, dry needling can be painful. I'm not gonna lie. It is super effective to the point I've had clients in the past that were surgical nurses, and so they were on their feet 12 plus hours a day for, 4 to 5 shifts a week. And so they didn't have a lot of time to rest, right? And while it was painful, it was highly effective and cleared up their plantar fasciitis within 2 weeks, which is crazy, awesome results, particularly with these clients that were dealing with it for 6 to 8 months before they finally came in to see somebody. So there's a lot of tools out there. Commonly, ultrasound can be used too in the clinic. Research does not support therapeutic ultrasound. It's a good theory, but it hasn't really panned out in practice. So we tend to, here at Writer's Edge, use different modalities than the ultrasound, but some people will still use that. So there's a lot of different options there. The thing about treating plantar fasciitis at its core is you've got to see the whole picture, like we talked about earlier. The whole lower kinetic chain has to be looked at. And it's the same thing, it's the same thing when you're looking at your horse. We don't just look at one piece of it. If we're having a lameness issue or body soreness issue, we don't just hone in right there on the left hip. We look at the whole picture. We look at what's going on in the front end. We look at what's going on in the back end, on the opposite side, things like that. So looking at all of that, taking that whole picture in, then we can create a treatment that works best for you. That'll include pain relieving treatments and exercises to strengthen and stretch depending upon what may be going on with you specifically. Plantar fasciitis can also be helped by having a professional evaluate your conformation. We have very good human shoers also. They work in fancier equipment, as far as some will do a computer analysis of your gait pattern or different things. It doesn't have to be that fancy. You can have somebody that's very old school, that's very good at working with your conformation or anatomy to find the perfect insert for you. If you have flat feet, like I do, like mine are completely flat, it may be a matter of working on your heel position, kind of a shorter insert that way. Oftentimes, people with flat feet get told, well, you need an arch. You need high arch inserts. And anybody that's got flat feet that's ever been put in a high arch insert knows how painful that can be. So it's super important to see somebody to help you find the right fit for you, because you can spend a lot of money on a lot of inserts and a lot of shoes super quickly. Same thing with high arched people. They need different kinds of support. And depending upon what's going on with your conformation, we may be able to get by with a lower price point insert, or we may need to go to mid to high price. Just kind of really depends on what's going on. The great thing is that there are a lot of options out there. And there are a lot of options too to not only put in your tennis shoes, but you can put them in your boots. For you cowboys, cowgirls out there in your muck boots, since it rains a lot this year, I have found that putting inserts in them will help. Even though those are a lot more supportive than the $15 Walmart rubber boots, right? Putting an insert in them, if you are out working, if you're working cattle in them, if you're just in them all the time for long periods of time, depending upon where you live, throwing an insert in there can help immensely also. And as we're on the subject of inserts, it may not be that you have plantar fasciitis. You may have lower back pain, or your knees may hurt. That again goes back to the lower kinetic chain. Everything is connected. The whole body is connected. So looking at your conformation again and working through that can give you some relief at your knees or your low back as well. So that's a lot of information about one little topic here. Plantar fasciitis, to kind of summarize, can be a pain in the heel. It can often be caused by tight calves or weak glutes. It is very treatable. You don't have to live with it for long periods of time. Just we need to work through what works for you in your lifestyle and what you have going on to get you pain-free and get you back to moving and grouping. Because if your feet hurt, it's going to change your gait, which can often lead to other issues that, while may not hurt when you get on the back of a horse, it can often alter your riding. Little details add up, and so that's why we're here having these conversations with you, because it's the details. The details matter. In this day and age, as competitive as everything is, the details matter. So I hope you found this helpful today. Give us a shout out in the notes. Leave us a review if you like this podcast. We'll continue to have these conversations. And as always, I will see you down the road. Thank you for listening to the Rider's Edge podcast today. We appreciate your time and attention. Thank you for always helping us move forward and appreciating a good conversation. Help us keep the conversation going by checking out our social media channels, including Facebook at Rider's Edge Therapy and Wellness, Instagram at Rider's Edge Therapy, and our website, www.ridersedgetherapy.com. It is there that you can also book a consult for either you or your horse. Thanks, and we'll see you down the road.